We have today more than 250 people registered for the forum and from 29 countries. And I'm really convinced that this is the evidence of the very active nature of the INSEAD community. And INSEAD experience itself is not only limited to those days where we spend weeks, months in the campus. It is also an opportunity of continuous learning. There is a regular reunion when we get together and with members of the same promotion. And in each country, there is the Alumni Association, where I'm heading Japanese Association. And the Alumni Forum is one of those opportunities of ongoing INSEAD experience. It gives us the opportunity to get together again, meet old friends, find new friends. And it gives us the great opportunity talking about the various issues. But the real value of this kind of forum is not only talking about the past. Actually, given such a complexity of the world is constantly changing. And what we learned in the past is not enough. We have to continue to learn, we have to continue to refresh memory, and we have to continue to think about something. So I really hope that this forum will also be an opportunity to think about our society, its sustainability, our responsibility, and all the challenges that we are facing. How we could find a clue to a solution, and how we could better contribute to build up a better society. We are lucky to welcome today Dean Ilian and the great faculty members from INSEAD. We have great panelists today. So you will hear from young entrepreneurs recently graduated from INSEAD as well. So I hope that all of you actively participate in the discussion, and please enjoy the day. Thank you very much.
Ilian, if you want to take the floor. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Very happy to see you here, despite this excellent weather outside. So I know that it's very hard to compete with this beautiful day, but we'll try. We have an amazing program. So I'm very pleased to start this Alumni Forum. Alumni Forum started in the United States about 5 years ago. And 3 years ago, we decided that the school will be supporting the spread of these forums around the world. So we had a forum in Shanghai 2 years ago, and then in Sydney last year, and this is the third Asian forum. And they're growing bigger and stronger. I'm very, very pleased to see this. So today, I will talk a little bit about the vision for the future of the school, where we are today. I think it is very important to ensure that we are aligned on the mission and the vision for the school. Very brief history. Some of you know this, others don't. And I think that the history of INSEAD is truly amazing. The school started in 1959 in the forest of Fontainebleau, actually in the Chateau of Fontainebleau. At the time when the school started, it was founded on a very noble, very good idea of promoting peace and prosperity by bringing people together from all over Europe. There were 53 students who started on September 12, 1959. And for the following 55 years, the school has achieved tremendous success. When you look back, you realize that it is nothing short of being an outstanding record in being a pioneer and disruptor in management education. Not only that the school started the first MBA outside the United States, we started the first truly international school, the first one-year MBA. We are pioneers of building customized company programs. In the 1960s, we're pioneer of business simulations. We are actually the school that introduced soft skills into management education, thanks to Manfred Katz de Vries. And we are still the only school with a multi-campus structure. And today, I'll show you also our new management revolution as we develop these customized online programs. I'm very pleased that we're today in Tokyo because our journey in Asia started with Japan. In 1960s, yesterday some of you were at the dinner, Henri-Claude de Bettigny, one of our colleagues, was very interested in Japan. He started developing ties with Japan. And in 1973, he brought the entire class of MBA graduates to Japan, where they graduated here in Tokyo, not in Fontainebleau, and they received their diplomas from Prime Minister Tanaka at graduation. After this, we started developing more and more relationship with Asia, and in the 1980s, we opened the Eurasia Center, thanks to a large extent to Japanese corporations that were supporting this endeavor. And of course, you know that in 2000 we opened our Asia campus. So our campus in Singapore is not coming out of nowhere. It's coming out of 20 or 25 years of actually work here in Asia. So for us, Tokyo is very dear because it is our starting point for our journey in Asia. Today, the school has become the biggest MBA school in terms of number of people that graduate and go on the market every year with 1,000 participants. We're growing our very strong executive MBA program, and we have some specialized degrees as well. In terms of executive education, starting from nothing, from zero, today we are the largest provider of executive education in terms of number of participants, with 12,000 people going through INSEAD executive education programs. We have all kinds of partnerships with different schools, and in 1959, when the school started, we didn't have any professors. Today, we have more than 140 professors. But probably the biggest asset of the school is the alumni network. We have more than 50,000 alumni, 25,000 with an MBA degree or EMBA. And the alumni are spread all over the world in more than 170 countries. The strength of the alumni network is absolutely amazing. There are many schools that will say we have people in virtually every country out there. But if you decide to see whether there is, to measure whether there is critical mass in every country, and you say, let's put a threshold, 100 alumni in a country. We have more than 100 alumni in more countries than any other business school out there. And you can put the threshold anywhere, still INSEAD will be #1. It is truly a global business school, and it is what makes me believe that the school can even achieve bigger successes. A little bit of an update on our faculty. Our faculty have become one of the strongest faculty group in the world. About 2 weeks ago, there is this group Thinkers 50 that identify the top 50 management and leadership thinkers. They also nominate people for Distinguished Achievement Awards in 10 categories. During the nomination stage, INSEAD had 6 professors in this list. Other schools were with 5, 4, or less. So INSEAD had actually more professors than anybody else. These were the 6 professors identified as shortlisted for the Distinguished Achievement Awards. And at the end, in the top 50, we have Chang Kim and René Mauborgne and Herminie Ibarra. And Erin Meyer won the Distinguished Achievement Award in the category On the Radar, which means these were young professors that everybody should be watching for their future output, as they're expected to be very impactful. So we are very happy with these achievements. So our faculty are great in the classroom, and you'll see them today also in these discussions, but also they're great in purely academic research. And I think that academic research is important, especially in the core disciplines of management, which is strategy, organizational behavior, entrepreneurship, and operations management. If you look at the top 8 journals, as we call them, top 11 academic journals in this field, For the last 3 years, our faculty have published 111 articles in these journals, which is way above what Wharton has or Harvard Business School or any other school out there. So again, when we look back and we think how INSEAD started and where we are today, it's actually an amazing achievement to see all these results. Of course, I always say this, that the reputation of the school is built by the reputation of the faculty, but most of all, predominantly by the reputation of the alumni. So we decided to look at where our alumni are working, where they're working in the right companies, and we took a survey conducted by Universum among US MBAs about the most desired MBA employers, so which are the best companies to work at. And what percentage of our alumni or alumni of other schools are working in these companies? If you look at the top 20 most desired employers, INSEAD has the highest percentage with more than 8%. Then you say if you look at the top 50, again INSEAD is number 1 as a percentage of our alumni. And if you look at the top 10, it's the same thing. Any way you cut it, our alumni are working in companies that are identified by MBAs as the most desired ones. The way to interpret this data is to say if you want to work in one of these companies, I don't know whether you want to or not, but if you want to work in one of these companies, the highest probability of succeeding is by doing an MBA degree at INSEAD. Where are alumni? Not only in the most desired companies, but many of you have seen already this result that came out in January. Financial Times ranked schools based on the number of CEOs in the biggest 500 Financial Times FT companies. INSEAD is number 2 with 10 CEOs. Harvard Business School is number 1 with 28. Of course, whenever you show a result where you're not number 1, people start asking, when are you going to be number 1? And one of the board members sent me an email, when are you going to overtake Harvard? So Harvard, by the way, has 20 of these CEOs as CEOs in American corporations. So for INSEAD to overtake Harvard, we have to become an American business school. Fortunately for us, Business Insider, an online publication, decided to create a ranking based on CEOs at the Europeans' biggest and most important companies. Not surprisingly, as they say, I don't know what it's called, France's top business school absolutely dominates the list. We are with 12 CEOs and Harvard is with 7. So there is a ranking where we win. But not only this, of course, you know that today everybody's talking about entrepreneurship and we'll see a lot of our alumni here with their companies, with their successes. Here is a ranking conducted by pitchbook.com where they look at the number of entrepreneurs supported by VC firms. Between 2010 and 2015, 185 entrepreneurs have been supported by these VC firms from INSEAD, and they have raised nearly $2 billion. And INSEAD is the only non-US school in the top 10. If you look at the other non-US schools or the European business schools, you realize that the sum of the next 9 schools in terms of funds raised is less than what actually INSEAD alumni have raised. So entrepreneurship is not important. We're actually much bigger than anybody else. In terms of number of unicorns, that is startups with valuation of more than $1 billion, we're number 3. We still have some work to do to overtake Harvard and Stanford, but we're getting there. So I think that the school has been very successful in placing the alumni, our students, in great companies, and we're very proud of their successes. Yesterday at the dinner, Henri-Claude de Bettini was criticized rankings, that people focus too much on rankings. And I think that now we're in a position where we can ignore rankings because we're doing so well. When you're not doing well and you say, I don't care about rankings, everybody says, well, you don't care because you're not doing well. But now you see first our executive MBA ranking. Our program with Tsinghua, our Tianba program, is ranked number 1 in the world. And our global EMBA program, of which we have many participants here, or alumni here, is ranked number 7. The ranking has a little bit of a bias towards joint programs. So the first 6 schools are joint programs. The first 6 ranks are joint programs. INSEAD Gamba is the highest ranked single school program in this ranking. In MBA, we're also doing very well. Here we have 5 rankings. 4 of them are very important: Financial Times, Business Week, The Economist, and Forbes. It's actually interesting that in 2015, it was the first year where we improved all our rankings across the board: MBA, Executive MBA, and Executive Education. We're ranked number 1 by Forbes, number 3 by Business Week, and number 4 by Financial Times, tied with Stanford, and number 8 by The Economist. Forbes is a very interesting ranking because Forbes actually gives you one statistic. You can always argue against some of the rankings because they use random weights to put career progression with salary increase, with international faculty, with research. Forbes actually looks only at the net financial gain 5 years after graduation. So they look at salaries 5 years after graduation compared to what they would have been without an MBA, subtract the opportunity cost and the tuition. The net financial gain for INSEAD alumni is $171,000. The highest ranked US school is Stanford with $89,000. Harvard is $83,000. So I think that it's useful to summarize this result as 1 Stanford alumnus or alumna and 1 Harvard alumnus or alumna are equal to 1 INSEAD alumnus or alumna. So I think that's a nice summary. Of course, Forbes is an American publication, so they don't publish this ranking. They have separate rankings for the US schools, 1-year MBA programs and 2-year MBA programs, because it's a bit embarrassing when they publish something like this. So which ranking to use? And that's the last thing on ranking. You have The Economist, and in The Economist you're number 8. Why are you number 8? You're not number 1, and so on. In Financial Times, number 4. In Business Week, number 3. And Business Week also is very careful in doing these rankings. So they have rankings that are US schools and then rankings that are international schools. So there'll be 2 number 1 schools, 2 number 2. Forbes, as I said, had 3 rankings: US schools, international 1-year programs, international 2-year programs. So one way to deal with this is to say, let's just put all these things together and create a consolidated ranking of the 4 things. So if you're consistently ranked very high, then you'll have a very good score. If you are if you're varying across rankings, then maybe not so much. So it depends how you treat the Forbes ranking. If you treat the Forbes ranking the right way, INSEAD is number 1. So with the right way, meaning creating a global ranking, Harvard Business School is number 2. If you decide, okay, let's not do this, let's just use their original ranking where there are 3 number 1 schools, 3 number 2 schools, and so on, and use these ranks, then Harvard is number 1, INSEAD is number 2, and then you have all these other schools out there. Now, the reason that actually that's not such a bad thing to do is because we're doing very well, obviously. But also, if you look at the previous slide, in any of the rankings, there's this random school that appears somewhere in the top. And here, if you look at the top 8 schools, right? So the top 8 schools are schools that we consider to be our competitors. Again, let's not focus too much whether you're number 1, number 2. But when you look at Harvard, Chicago, Wharton, Kellogg, Stanford, Columbia, and LBS, the only school that is missing here is MIT. Somehow they don't do very well in these rankings. But these 8 schools are really competitors to INSEAD in degree programs. So the average of the rankings somehow is working quite well. By the way, this is not something that I created. So it's not something just to show how good we are. It's created by a website called Poets and Quants. They use slightly different weighting. And of course, they don't combine US schools and international schools. They create US schools and then a separate ranking of international schools. And of course, INSEAD is number 1 in the international schools. Now, let me go in the last few minutes that I have to talk a little bit about the future of the school. Again, the past, the history of INSEAD is absolutely amazing. And when I was talking at first at reunions, and some of you have heard me, the first year when I was traveling around the world and meeting with alumni and reading about INSEAD, I was struck by the success of the school. In fact, I would say that in the first year, the most probably impactful thing that happened to me was that I read a book. which was very impactful, and that is the history of INSEAD, from intuition to institution. Strongly recommend to read this book to all of you. When you read the book, it's very intimidating because then everybody asks, what are you going to do? So the school has succeeded now, very high in rankings, very good positions in companies and so on. And the board asked me to create a vision for the school. So I started thinking, how do we create a vision for a school? It's something that, again, sounds very difficult. And to me, it started with thinking about the mission of INSEAD. We have a mission statement on our website, but last year I decided that we have to change our mission statement or reinterpret our mission statement based on the statement that business is a force for good. Business as a force for good is understood by many people in different ways. And I think that today, at least, I have a little bit more clarity of how to interpret this statement and how to derive our mission. Initially, my idea was, and some of you have seen this, is that business as a force for good is tied to reducing poverty and increasing economic welfare. And indeed, when you look at the data, in China in 1981, there were 840 million people below the extreme poverty line of $1.25 a day. 30 years later, there are less than 150 million. Over a period of 30 years, more than 700 million people have been lifted out of poverty. Globally, more than 1.2 billion people. This is a miracle that has never happened before. Never in the history of the world, so many people have been lifted out of poverty. And this magic, this miracle has happened not because of government aid or philanthropic giving or foreign developmental aid from the World Bank, but because of one thing, and that is economic growth. I can put here tons of statistics. I can put infant mortality, I can put health, lifespan, and so on, things that we care about. All of them are highly correlated with income per capita. So if you want to reduce poverty on a permanent basis, rather than just alleviate it on a temporary basis, then you need economic growth. And the only engine of economic growth in the long run is business creation. So our mission as a business school for the world is to help these young people that come to INSEAD to develop themselves as thoughtful, responsible, innovative leaders, entrepreneurs, and managers who, through their knowledge and their expertise and their skills, go back to their companies and countries, accelerate growth, and improve economic well-being. If we do our job well, then these people will have a big impact. Our school, in fact, when I think about this, this business as a force for good emerged not out of nowhere. It is the foundations of INSEAD. Georges Doriot viewed the creation of INSEAD as a way to promote peace and prosperity in Europe after the Second World War, bringing people together. So in some sense, it is in our DNA, and it is an extension of what we had done in the past. Of course, when you put this statement by itself, then people come, and yesterday we had Henri Claude talking about these things. They come and they say, but wait a second, when you look at businesses today, there are some, not all of them, there are some businesses that have created more damage rather than more value. And I don't want to delve deeper into the Volkswagen saga, but we know that there are sometimes companies that still create value from a business perspective, but also from a societal perspective, they actually destroy value. So the big question then for us at INSEAD today is how do we ensure that the people that we help develop, well, we develop them at INSEAD, they align the goals of their business and their value-creating activities with the goals of the society. They don't go against the goals of the society because at the end of the day, if you do, it will not be sustainable. And I think that there are 5 different things that we do in the school. The first and the most important one, which was discussed yesterday by Henri Claude, is the ethical perspective or the ethical constraint. There are CEOs, there are people who have the values or the value of saying, my business, our business, has to take into account not only profit, but also what is happening to the planet or to people. So they internalize the societal goals in the company. What we do at INSEAD is we try now more and more to ensure that in the decision-making process, our students learn what kind of biases they have, what kind of blind spots they have, to become much more self-aware. Because very often the mistakes, the big things, the big errors that we see out there are driven by somebody at some point not understanding how this decision is going in the wrong direction. Now, it is a little bit naive to say that all CEOs will have these values and will behave in this way. So the second constraint has to be through the governance structure. The directors, the board of directors, and there are boards like this that tell the CEO, here is your financial goal, here is your sustainability goal, or whatever societal goal you have. You get your bonus by reaching the financial goal, but if you don't reach your societal goal, there is no bonus, no incentive. And in fact, the CEO, the #1 CEO ranked by Harvard Business Review as the most successful CEO of Novo Nordisk, has a board that does exactly this. There is a coefficient that is driven by sustainability factors. The third is obviously building corporate culture. Let me go a little bit faster here. Then we talk about public constraints. If you do the wrong thing, then the public revolts and you have all these boycotts and riots. And then sometimes the government has to intervene because there are industries where the externalities are so strong that if you try to deviate, if you say, no, I'll do the right thing, then you simply go bankrupt because everybody else is not playing the same game. So I think that the big success is sulfur dioxide, where actually in the 70s, governments intervened, created these permits, and today nobody talks about sulfur dioxide, which was the biggest issue in the 60s. So this is one way to think about business as a force for good, also aligning the goals of the business with the goals of the society. But today, actually at the forum in Washington in April this year, I realized that there is a new group of people out there that reverse the question. Instead of asking, how can I ensure that my business is aligned with the goals of the society, they ask, what are the biggest problems, what are the biggest issues in the society, and how can I create a profitable business in order to address these issues? And these are obviously social entrepreneurs and many other people who try to create businesses that are profitable, so they don't want to be on subsidies, but they do address issues that are very, very important for the society. So this is the way that we think about our mission. Let me now take you through the vision for building the school for the 21st century. I think that to answer, to get the vision, we have to answer these 4 questions. Who are our customers? How do we deliver our knowledge? What are the characteristics? What is our DNA? What are the key things about INSEAD? When you see INSEAD, you say, well, these are the things that I know an INSEAD alumnus or alumna will have. And the fourth thing is, what are the foundations of the school? What is the engine behind this? I'll rush through this because I don't have much time. I think that when we think about our customers or our audiences, there are basically 3 categories. We have our current audience, which I described in our mission. These are students, executives who come to INSEAD, and we help them develop in these thoughtful, responsible leaders. But we want to go further. So one of the key goals for the next few years is to develop, and we're starting now this year, develop a platform for lifelong learning. So actually we can bring the alumni closer to the school through online courses and other lifelong learning tools so that we can help you develop yourself as better managers, better leaders, and then you can connect better with the school. So this platform should be operational, hopefully by the end of 2016. And we want to go even beyond that and do a little bit of service to the broader community and develop online courses for basic management, basic accounting, undergraduate level finance, and so on, that we can distribute in the poorest countries in the world. How do we deliver this? I think that live teaching will still be important. So in Fontainebleau, we'll start now renovating our campus to make it more consistent with what we try to achieve today. Spaces for experiential learning, design thinking, creativity. So Manuel Sosa, who will be speaking later today, is renovating one place in Singapore for his design thinking course. But I think that creating these physical spaces is important. But of course, now more and more, the digital platform is also important. And I'll show you in a second what we do on digital. What is our DNA? So the DNA of the school, the key characteristics going forward, I think it should be are 5. You can make it 4 or 6, but I think that these 5 are very essential for what INSEAD stands for. First, I think that it must be a global school. I think that any business school that tries to be successful has to be global. I think that diversity is very important. Diversity is important not only as a nice thing to have, but because today more and more companies face issues with cross-cultural work and teams. When you have a diverse environment, you learn how to do this naturally. Diversity is also the source of creativity. I think that one of the most important transformations that we're doing today in the school is that we want the school, we want INSEAD to be transformational. It has always been transformational. I met an alumnus from 1963 during the reunion 2 years ago who told me that the year at INSEAD was the best year in his life. And I was thinking the guy is old, he's nostalgic about the time when he was 25, that's why he's saying this. But then last year I was flying into Zurich, I was going to pick up my luggage and there was this guy running after me, said, "Are you the Dean of INSEAD?" I was in jeans and t-shirt, so it was not obvious that I'm the Dean of INSEAD, but I said, "What gave it away?" And he said, "Well, I'm a student at INSEAD, 2014 J, and I wanted, and I've seen you on campus." So I asked him, "What do you think about the INSEAD? Any criticisms? I'm still looking for feedback." And he said, no, actually it's really great. It's actually the best year in my life so far. And I just saw, because we're friends on Facebook, I just saw that he has posted on his Facebook profile that it was the best year in his life so far. So he's hoping for something better. I think that's good people to be optimistic. But transformational is important because we want to make sure that we develop the leaders, we develop people who are aware of how they make decisions and can avoid biases. Entrepreneurship is very important, and it's not just startups, but it's creativity and innovation. And the last thing is that the school has to be still analytical. Analytical skills are very important. And analytical skills are important because problem-solving skills, critical thinking will be something that will stay with our students, our alumni, for the rest of their lives. I can discuss in detail these 5 characteristics, why we choose these ones as opposed to something else, but I think that we're running out of time. Academic excellence is something that has to be taken more or less as given, because if we want to be a top business school, we have to be impactful in research and in teaching. I will take a little bit more time than I was allotted because I want to show you what we are doing in online courses. So here is a video.
As today's corporate leaders face incredible changes in their markets, new technologies, new competitors, whole new business models, they need to make radical changes in their organization.
For business, change is constant, as it has always been. Only modern technology has accelerated the speed of the change and enlarged the scope of the change to a global scale.
So at INSEAD we've been investing heavily in developing custom online programs so that we can work differently with our clients in an age where technology enables us to take executive education into a different space.
The heart of INSEAD's customized online programs and solutions is incredibly high quality filmed video lectures. We've worked out a core set of building blocks which we then work with the clients to assemble into a program that meets their needs. In addition, each individual piece can be customized to the particular objectives of the client.
The online program also enables the participants to learn the concept at their own pace.
They'll be doing individual knowledge checks and quizzes. They'll be answering polls. They'll be participating in a variety of discussion forums. And they'll often have a project work where they bring the learning back to real problems in their companies.
Our faculty are not only academics, they're really close to business and love nothing more than to really engage with clients to understand how can they use an executive education experience to really shift the capability of the entire organization. One of the key concerns that frequently comes up when we start to talk to our clients is around the completion and engagement rates. Many of them have had really quite poor experiences with other online programs or even MOOCs, where the engagement and completion rates are often less than 10%. And we've really seen extraordinary results. Completion rates have been in excess of 80%. A customized online solution will mean that they can take the core themes and behaviors that were being developed in face-to-face experiences and cascade and roll that out throughout a much bigger population, people particularly within the middle management layer of their talent pool.
We understand our middle management are on the go all the time. This solution enables you to really pick up the concept wherever you are and re-pick it up when you walk out of a meeting, for example.
We can scale the delivery of individual courses from 50 people up to 1,000. We can literally build capability and change perspectives in thousands of participants at a single company. As today's corporate leaders face incredible changes in their markets, they need to make radical changes in their organization. There's no better way to do that than an effective and customized educational experience that really gives the people the new tools, the new way of thinking that they need to execute on the new strategy.
So this is our first client was Microsoft, and we started October last year with 2 courses. One is strategy, the other one was financial acumen. It went extremely well. As the video said, usually the completion rate of online courses is 8–10%. We had 85% completion rate. 95% said the course will improve how they perform their job, and 99% satisfaction rate. We did ask Microsoft, are Microsoft employees so nice that they give 99% satisfaction rate all the time? And the answer was that that's not true. Only they get 99% when they have big events for 5,000 people with a lot of alcohol. And otherwise, for an educational thing, getting 99% satisfaction rate is not working. This, I think, is a revolution in management education. This will change the way that we do customized programs. What we have done with Microsoft and now with Accenture is very different from what others have done with online courses. And with this, if we develop it right, we'll be able to change organizations through live teaching of the leadership team, but also through online for the entire organization. So let me just finish. I have one more slide. So what are the priorities for this year? I want to put up these lifelong learning classes. We'll be starting a capital campaign. Fundraising is very important for us to realize some of these ambitions that we have. Building this online online platform, whether it is for the alumni, for companies, for MBAs, delivering on new spaces, and most importantly, competing for students. Today, most of the wars between business schools is for students. By giving the new students scholarships, schools can attract them to go to their place. So fundraising is important because it's the reputation of the school. If you get the right students, you have the right alumni, you have the reputation at the right place. So in the coming years, we'll be executing on this strategy with the vision, which I have summarized again, these 4 things here. INSEAD is a business school for the world. Here, this map shows where we have alumni, in how many places. As I said, we have more alumni in more countries than anybody else. And that's what it means to be a business school for the world. It doesn't mean to have campuses in every country. And we'll start a more aggressive campaign today or soon. And this campaign will be to make a statement that there is only one business school for the world. There is nobody else that can put up something like this out there. Thank you very much.